All right. There you go. Can you show me your tools?
Hammer.
A hammer. And a saw.
Saw, flip, hammer, and this one.
That's a wrench.
Wrench.
Pliers.
Pliers.
Lots of things you can use.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Cranio Family Vlog. Every day during the month of September, we are tackling one question about craniosynostosis to help open the doors to the world of craniosynostosis for people who probably don't know a lot about it. Today we are talking about a topic that is probably going to get a little emotional. We are discussing the question of what is the scariest part about going through cranio procedures as a parent.
Now this is definitely going to vary a little bit when it comes to parents, when it comes to families, area doctors, so many different factors. So we're just going to tell you our perspective as far as what has been the scariest elements for us. For me, this has been something that is reoccurring. Zoey has had multiple procedures, and this part for me has never really gotten easier. It has stayed just as scary and just as stressful for me. And that would be the moment where, for all the prep, I tend to be okay because I'm focusing on details and figuring out what it is we need to bring, what it is we need to do, are all the kids taken care of. But for me, the scariest part is when we get to the hospital the day of the procedure and we are in the pre-op room. There is something very specific about that room where there is a sense of reality of what is going to happen and having to let go of your child to literally be placed into a surgeon's hands. And it is a terrifying moment where when all of the busyness is kind of stilled and you just have those few minutes with your child. And for me, if you narrow it down to even the second, for me, the hardest and scariest part is when Zoey gets taken away. When if she's crying, if she's awake, whatever her situation is, when she gets as she is leaving, and there's a very real, weight that I have to come to grips with. That she's leaving now. I'm not going to see her for the next X amount of hours, and we're going to have to deal with this and not really know what's going on until afterward.
And with the multiple surgeries that Zoey's had, there's been something that has stood out about every single one for me that was the hardest part of that particular surgery. One of the moments that really stands out for one of the surgeries, this was I think the second craniosurgery that Zoey had. When we passed off Zoey, they carried her back to the surgery room, which was different than the first time because the first time they wheeled her back. And as they walked away, we could hear her crying for mommy and daddy. And that moment hit so hard that I remember falling to the floor as they were carrying her away. And there's something really difficult about passing off your child to have her skull cut open. We spend our entire lives as parents trying to protect our children. And in order to allow our child the shot to live, we have to go through something like this. And it's horrifying, it's terrifying. But there's always this one time that above and beyond all others is always this moment that is the scariest moment for me. And that's waiting. We go into this room, and it's a really nicely done room. They've got toys for the siblings. The chairs are fairly comfortable. There's a nice mural on the ceiling with the lights above it that look like clouds. And we could probably count the tiles if we wanted to. We've been in there often enough. But we go into this room and we're surrounded by other parents who have children going back for surgery at the same time. And there's this single solitary phone that's on the wall just to the left of the TV. And what happens is the nurses will call that number and ask to speak to the parents of one of the children. It's an update. It's to let you know that the child has come back from surgery. Sometimes it's not a very good phone call. And For a lot of Zoe's surgeries, we spent a lot of time in that room. One of her surgeries was about 11 hours. And we watched families come in, leave, go down the hall, and leave the hospital or go up to the PICU to visit their baby. And every single time the phone rings, regardless of what's going in that room, everybody falls silent. You'll see parents and grandparents or aunts and uncles grab the loose children and just kind of hold them close, and everybody just zeroes in on the solitary figure walking to the phone, and nobody says anything. Everybody tries to avoid looking and acting like they're not paying attention, but everybody is watching everything that you are doing. You can feel a million eyes on you, and everybody's hearts are stopping. It's the moment that everybody is unified for just about 30 seconds and hoping to see a smile, hoping to see you actually be able to breathe for the first time in hours. And then you hang up that phone and you turn and you look and you have to report back what you just heard. Every time that phone rings, it is terrifying for me. It's my job whenever Zoey has a craniosurgery to be there to answer that call. And that's just who I am as Zoe's dad. That's the kind of dad that I am for her. And it's not because Katie doesn't want to do it. I'm sure she does. But it's just that's something that I just want. That's something I can actually have some level of control. And that's actually the only control you have, is being able to pick up the phone. And that for me is the absolute scariest part, is while you are waiting for that phone to ring, and then it rings, and that moment right before you put the receiver to your ear and they ask you your daughter's name, they ask you your daughter's date of birth, and then there's a long pause, and then they connect you, and you wait for a nurse to pick up the phone to say she's doing great, her heart rate's fine, the doctors are halfway through the surgery, she's got Buffy right next to her. But every time that phone rings, that's the scariest part of going through any craniosurgery. There's been other parts that have been harder, but they've been moments. That's an ever-present moment that lasts hours, and it weighs on you. When we get the call that Zoey is on her way back to recovery and we should be being met soon by the doctors, I feel like I'm finally breathing for the first time. I feel like my heart is finally beating. I can feel the blood flow return to my fingertips. But the entire time, from the moment that she has been taken away until the moment that we get that message, it sucks. It is brutal, and I hate seeing other parents go through that. Even for an hour-long surgery, I hate it, because there's no control.
An additional question that is very much in line with these, that has come up quite a bit within Cranio groups, is just talking about who would I like to have with me and what kind of experience should I be expecting. And there's a very big difference between the pre-op room and that waiting room, and it really depends on comfort levels as far as who you want to have around with you, who would be supportive for you, and who would actually cause you more stress and be more draining for you. And for me, there's a very big difference between that pre-op room, because for me that is my moment of realization, and I need that to be just me and just Michael and just Zoey, the three of us. And as you know, as our younger kids have come along in them as well, there's something about that immediate family for me that has been an incredible few minutes just to have that realization as a family unit, before having some great support within the waiting room when we go back, and we can kind of breathe. At least from my perspective, I can breathe a little bit more and be able to talk to relatives around me. And I don't want to say that should be how everybody does it, but that is what has been a very good process for me. And just to keep in mind for friends that you know of going through these type of procedures, they will have a very distinct preference, and even if they don't voice that, you can be a great support system just in asking, what would you like to have happen? Is there a way that you would benefit me from being there, or from phone calls? Is there a set time that would be helpful for you? And so I definitely just wanted to leave that out there for you guys just to kind of think about within your community, if you are a Cranio family, what you would like to have happen ahead of time, and if you know a Cranio family, how you can support them in ways that will help them specifically.
And I think that's where we're going to end this one, because this topic has a lot of tendency for us to just let it spiral and get darker and get more and more emotional because of what this time is. And we've written quite a bit about what it's like to go through surgery. I make a nervous habit out of giving live updates on Twitter or on Tumblr or now our blog or on Facebook, because I know there's people who are watching, who are holding their breath with me, who are thinking happy thoughts or praying or speaking, good intentions on the wind, whatever they may choose to do, because for me it's not about what do you believe in, it's the fact that you believe my daughter's going to be okay. But I think that's pretty encompassing for us of what is the scariest part of going through a cranial procedure. So in a slightly longer video and a little bit of a little heart tug one, we answered that question today, and to the best of our ability. If you'd like to know more about our journey as Cranio parents, if you would like to read some of the stuff that we have written, either independently or together, about what it's like to go through surgery, about recovery, about preparing for surgery, check out our blog at craniofamilyblog.com. And don't forget, this month isn't over yet, so like and subscribe to this channel so that way you can catch the next video when it comes out. With that, we'll see you guys on the other side.
Thanks for stopping by.